Hello and welcome to the CDO magazine interview series. I'm Nazar Labunets with Ataccama. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Diane Schmidt, Chief Data Officer at Government Accountability Office. Welcome, Diane. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm a longtime supporter and friend of the magazine and really can't be happier to be here. I am currently the first chief data officer at the Government Accountability Office, and I know we'll talk a bit more later in the questions about my various roles. I've been in the data management, space for close to 30 years. I'm a practitioner by trade, so I sort of grew up through the industry. I started off really on the information technology side, was a data architect, manager, project manager, managing data projects, and helped to build operational data stores, warehouses, data lakes, reporting solutions, analytics solutions. I could sort of go on and on, records management. But like I said, I'm a practitioner. And so I really learned the nuts and the bolts, I guess you should say, of sort of data work through my various roles, up to my CDO role.
Amazing, and congratulations on such a remarkable career. It's a pleasure to talk with a person with so much experience. So it's not your first CDO role, right? So you've been in that role before. So what would you say is the main role of the Chief Data Officer?
Yes, of course. I love this question because I think my answer has changed over time. I think of the main role now as a cultural change agent. I think that certainly there's people, there's process, there's technology, there's policy framework, but the culture is really where we see impact, is where we see behavior change. Certainly, data is really on the trajectory of being recognized as an asset, to an organization. And I think CDOs are there to help lead, facilitate, certainly create strategies and implement those strategies. It's not about also the currency. It's also about evolving that strategy, I think, to ensure the organization derives value far into the future.
Right. Fantastic. Yeah. So cultural change agent, that's really cool. Looking at some research on CDOs, all of them say that cultural changes, data literacy is basically the top challenge for any CDO. It's can basically build something great, amazing, but if people don't start using it, if they don't get it, then how are you gonna get value out of it, right?
Sure.
So yeah, great answer. Right. And what do you think about the two words like data strategy? Does that ring a bell? What do you think about it?
Of course. No, absolutely. I've worked on lots of strategies over the years, and they've certainly evolved and changed. And no strategy is alike. It really does depend on the organization and the drivers and all of the factors. I think the best data strategies really do articulate the voice of the organization. It's not just the business, but it's the mission, it's the IT function, it's operations, it's all of your stakeholders. So it's really about having the discussion on the problems and the priorities and the risks and the issues, and not just what's not going well, but also what's going well. So where do we need to focus? What is the approach for mitigation, resolution, and we should have options. So when you're creating a strategy, like I said, there's always the factors of executive support, funding, resources, and strategies are kind of like the what and the why. A lot of times we do have the roadmaps in the strategy, so it really just depends, like I said, on the appetite of the organization, and what you can articulate, and what is implementable and adoptable.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that answer. So it really requires alignment across the organization, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And what would you say that a good data strategy should include? So you mentioned something like the what and why, the roadmap.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think strategies are different. Um, so I definitely think there's the why. What are we here for? What are the issues and the challenges, and what are we trying to solve for? Because that really and the voice of the organization should essentially be it should really be articulated. That's the focus. I can come into a strategy and tell you what I think you need to do, but I also need to hear from the organization, business, whether it's business operations, and in our case, it's our mission, it's our operations teams. So it's the what, and why are we doing this? How can we do this? In some cases we're including certainly the technology piece, the technology stack, where we could have possible solutions. We have options. Also, like I said, depending on scope, schedule, budget, resources, all those sorts of things, and outcomes, impacts. What does this mean to our organization if we agree to and adhere to the strategy? Most importantly, it's really that impact and set of outcomes that I think our leadership and our teams need to understand. What does this mean to the organization?
Love it. Love all these components and the voice of the organization. That's really great. I don't think I've heard this before, so that's really cool. So going back to your current position, you're the first CDO at Government Accountability Office, right? And you've been a first CDO before as well, right?
Yeah.
So how do you show value as a CDO fast, right? It seems that there's a lot of pressure for that, right?
Yeah. This is such an interesting question, because I've definitely seen a lot of conversation about what a CDO should be doing to really create impact quickly. I think that one, it really depends on what you mean by fast. A good data program takes time, it takes commitment, and effort. It takes a leader who is creative, resilient, persistent, can communicate with many types of stakeholders. Hiring a CDO and investing in the data program is an investment. I mean, we are here to enable the mission, to reduce costs and risks, and in some cases grow and change businesses. In our specific case for the GAO, it's about enabling our mission, accelerating our mission in many ways. It's about timeliness to our clients, who's Congress. It's about also that client confidence. We want to make sure that Congress continues to really show, really demonstrate that they're confident in our products that we distribute. Our brand, we've been around for 100 years. We need to make sure that we not only protect but support the brand, because it's such an important mission. And also public savings. I mean, we are here because we are here to certainly improve performance and accountability of the federal government from a taxpayer dollar perspective. We want to make sure that there is, that we answer questions and inquiries from Congress to make decisions, for them to make decisions. Ultimately, again, to make sure that we're clear on what's happening to the taxpayer dollars that are spent by the government. So ultimately, that could mean more money in people's pockets. That could mean, a difference in people's lives. So I think about, when you ask that question, making an impact fast can be very challenging because, like I said, it's an investment.
Very interesting mission for GAO. I'm not sure how many countries actually have a body like this that does something like that. And I'm assuming that data is central basically to what you do and how
Absolutely.
you operate, right?
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely.
moving on to a topic of challenges.
Mhm.
So I'm reading a lot that chief data officers feel like their role is misunderstood and like compared to other C-level executives. Why do you think that is the case?
Why do I think that's the case? I think, there's no one job description for a CDO. I think it really depends on the maturity of the organization. Again, some of the factors on drivers and scope and expectations, and the expectations do vary. So, we've seen the CDO, the sort of official role created in sometime in the 2000s, and a lot of that focus was more about, I think, the defensive position and compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, and sort of, responding to those, and not being able to be proactive. I think what we've sort of seen is this trend, of course, is more about the offense, and a, a lot about monetization and decision science and enablement and AI. So, it's again, it's really all about sort of those expectations in the role. And I think, specifically with GAO, we're a data-driven agency. Our work relies on good data, and our leadership really understands the added value of a CDO, and that's why they created this position. Our products are underpinned by good data. We are a trusted entity, and this is just a must and non-negotiable for good data and good products. If you think about what's really interesting is our comptroller general has been with GAO almost 50 years and began his career as an analyst. So he's been able, along with the leadership team, to change the organization, begin to really certainly focus on certainly our processes and the robust processes that we have, but also the recognition of how important data are to those products. And again, that's why I'm here. I think it's really important to feel like you can have a positive impact, that the opportunity is there, that what you're doing is understood and appreciated. And I think that when you're in an organization, you have to sort of make progress fast. I'm not quite sure that's the organization for you at that point in time. Expectations to sort of make impacts fast, again, are would be really challenging. So, CDOs will, I think you have to fight for your seat at the table in many cases. You've got to educate. So there's a lot to it. There's definitely, we I think as a CDO community do help each other. There's a lot more conversations and dialogue and collegial sharing of information so that we can all be as successful as possible.
Great. Thank you, Diane, for joining me and CDO Magazine today. And please visit cdomagazine.tech for more interviews like this. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.